Okay, if you've got a Renault and you have a rattle from the engine when you start it, that sounds really bad. It's from this area right here. Behind this engine mount is the timing belt, actually behind the mount itself. And the variable valve timing pulley that's in this side is the part that rattles when it's cold. I'm just going to start the car and let you hear what I'm talking about. Okay, just go and start the car, please. So the noise we're hearing on the car is the dephaser pulley on the Renault. It's variable valve timing, and it goes on the end of the camshaft so that as the pulley rotates, it can independently adjust the position of the camshaft. And what we've got rattling inside here when you start the car in the morning, there's no oil pressure. Well, if you take the cap off the end of the dephaser pulley, okay, and inside we have this plunger on the end of that shaft. And that's the part that's making it rattle by not sticking out. And it's not locating into that hole you see right at the top, that indent. I don't know if you can see that. There, oh, that's probably worse, but that indent that's in there. So this goes in here, and depending, that's attached to the camshaft, that's attached to the timing belt. So when it goes in here, like that, like a jigsaw, so that is how it rotates independently. The camshaft turns independently of the timing belt. Quite a few degrees, you can see there is quite a amount of movement. But basically what's rattling before you get when you switch the car off, that plunger locks into that hole, like that. Now I can't spin it at all. But if that doesn't happen, when you start the car, it's rattling back and two until oil pressure will push the plunger in, and then it's controlled by oil pressure where it needs to be. So when your car rattles when you start it, it's because that plunger is not engaging with that. That's a faulty dephaser pulley. So now I've got to change the pulley on the car. The jack under the engine with a block of wood between the jack and the engine so you don't crack the sump. And then you can raise and lower the engine to help you take the engine mount off. Then you take off all the bolts that hold the engine mount on. And then there, those three. And that one in the end. Okay, don't worry if you can't get this part of the bracket out of here. Sometimes it's not worth the hassle removing it. You can work around it. Once you've taken the engine top mount off, you take this metal part of the cover off. You can leave the plastic pad in below it. Leave the auxiliary belt on. Just taking the top part of the engine cover off right here. When you've taken the top cover off, you can see the timing belt. At least this time I don't have an oil leak, but the pulley is rattling when I start it. Now I've took the covers off, there's part of this plastic timing case that has a removable part so that you can gain access to the timing tensioner. Saves us taking all the rest of the side of the engine off. Now it's a case of timing the engine, but first I'm going to slack that loose. So we're going to unscrew this cap. It shouldn't be that tight, but make sure you put an old towel to soak up the oil because this is oil filled. These really shouldn't be tight unless they've been on a long time or somebody's over tightened. Let's get ready to catch the oil. Make sure you don't drop this into the timing cover because you'd have to take the cover off to fish it back out. I don't need that bit just now. We're going to undo that one later. Going to undo the center bolt in a bit once we've timed it up. So the next thing is timing up the engine. To take this out, there's a screw just under this wire. That's a plug right there. You need to take that one out and put the locking tool into the crank when it's in the right position. We also need to take off the air duct and the throttle body. We're going to take off this bracket just here. Okay, that's the locking tool in the back of the camshafts for the gearbox side of the engine. And the locking tool is at the bottom. Now that you can see it just now, but it is in there. Cable tied the exhaust sprocket so the belt wouldn't move. And then the bottom down here I wedged a cloth like that right in there to stop the belt from moving off that pulley that's on the water pump down there. So I tracked that belt. I loosened this one slightly, the idler. I loosened that. I didn't take the bolt right out, it was just starting to get loose on the pulley. Then I was able to just slide the dephaser out the way and put the new one in with the belt just held in place. Now hopefully the tool will slide into place. It does, it fits right in there. So the bolt hole lines up at the top and bottom. Let me just try and get some light on that. See how the bolt lines up at the bottom and at the top of the tool. There's an indent at the back that goes into the exhaust camshaft, and there's two on the dephaser pulley. We still have the bolt in the bottom here. Get some light on that. Can't really get it to focus, but it's down there. I still got the bolt in the crank. Can actually show you it. It is there though. And we still have the tool in the back. And nothing seems to be coming much into focus, but the tool's still in the back to lock up the camshafts. The crank tool's in the bottom. Like I say, I managed to do it all just by loosening the tensioner a little bit, and the new one slid right in place. It means that you can do this job really quickly if if everything goes well within an hour. Well, no, I've still to build it up, but I got the pulley on. I'll still need to build up all the stuff that I took off to fit the tools in, but you get the idea. It's a lot quicker than stripping the whole thing down. This is the pulley that I just took off the car. The torques that I used are only 5 point instead of the usual 6. So these torques are the 5-point torques with the tamper-proof, and the size is TS30, if anybody wants to know. Now I'm going to try and open it up. These shouldn't be that tight, so we should be able to do it. Once we've opened it up, yeah. With the right tool, it's so much easier than drilling it out. Right, so I'm going to take this off, just out of curiosity. Why was it rattling when it was cold? Two possibilities are, it wasn't in the locked position when the timing was done, which it was, and the other one would be the plunger doesn't work. So now we're going to just have a little look inside, see what we can see, just out of interest. I'll take this all apart. So this would still be at the switched off position. I don't know if it has something when you switch the car off, if it puts it into a position so it's ready, but when the car starts, so I don't know how that works. But anyway, that's it off. I gotta get something to knock that off. It's oily, but at least the oil looks clean. I don't see any sign of damage. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's just dirt. Right. Little bits of crap in the oil around here in places. So here's the part that would rotate onto the end of the shaft. The oil would go through certain galleries, depending which way it's pumped when it's on the camshaft, through the holes one way or the other, and that would rotate this one way or the other. So it does look like it's in its, look at that, it is all the way in its sealed position. It's all the way up to the side. I mean, it's in the stop. So I don't know if I can rotate that. Let's have a little look. Screwdriver in, can I? Oh, there you go. It's all the way in the stop place. But I can still, with a screwdriver, I can still rotate it a bit. Right, so that's all it was, I think. It's not locking it. Let's pull it out and have a look at it better. There's the plunger. It is actually in the out position. It does have a little bit of play in there. I don't know if it's maybe worn slightly. Worn enough that it's rocking. I don't know if there's play in that side to side. Certainly the plunger's coming out, and that would locate into that hole. If you look at the side of this, there's quite a bit of wear on the edge of it. You see, it's just these seals that seal it. They go in here, oil seals, and they'll slide it back into. It does look quite worn and grooved though. Look at that. You see the grooving? So maybe the oil's taken a while. I can actually feel that with my finger. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.